Hello everyone and welcome to my channel YNR Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Breaking news struck Genoa City like a violent winter storm, sweeping across television screens and social media feeds as December 22nd approached, signaling that the days leading into Christmas week 2025 would be unlike any holiday season in the show's history, igniting panic, heartbreak, and betrayal in a town already fractured by scandal. Whispers spread through the snow-covered streets that the Newman empire, still recovering from Victor's humiliating loss in the divorce court, was on the verge of a catastrophic collapse, and rumors claimed the board of Newman Enterprises was preparing a secret emergency vote that could reshape the power structure forever, stripping Victor of remaining influence and appointing Nikki as sole CEO for the first time in company history. But beneath the festive decorations and twinkling holiday lights, darker forces stirred as Victor plotted revenge with chilling patience. Meanwhile, Summer, still reeling from the fallout of the USB bombshell that shattered the courtroom weeks earlier, received an anonymous warning that someone inside Newman had placed a target on her back, threatening to leak private footage implying she fabricated evidence, footage that could destroy her credibility and turn public sentiment against Nikki in an instant, causing Summer's anxiety to spiral as she began questioning everyone around her, including her own mother, Phyllis, whose loyalty could shift depending on which path offered her the most leverage. But the shockwaves didn't stop at the Newman family. At Chancellor Winters, Devon uncovered encrypted emails suggesting someone at Newman was secretly sabotaging corporate accounts belonging to Chandler Winters, transferring millions through offshore chains designed to implicate Lily as the architect of the scheme, triggering a volatile confrontation that left the company exposed and alliances shredded just days before Christmas. Across town, Jack Abbott wrestled with guilt over a dangerous secret Ashley whispered during a moment of vulnerability. She feared her mental unraveling was no longer the remnants of past trauma, but the result of medication tampering engineered by someone with access to her prescriptions, someone who might be using her psychological instability to weaken the Abbott family's control of Jabot. Jack vowed to protect Ashley, but with his drug dependency resurfacing and emotional scars still healing, he worried he lacked the strength to shield his loved ones from another corporate war. At Crimson Lights, Sharon sensed the rising tension, her intuition sharpened by years of surviving turmoil, and she confided in Chance that she feared Genoa City stood on the edge of a reckoning that would expose corruption and secrets buried for decades. Chance, still investigating Victor's secret shadow network after Claire hinted at more evidence buried beyond the USB files, quietly admitted he had uncovered encrypted documents tying Victor to bribery of international officials during the early years of Newman Enterprises, documents that could not only destroy Victor's legacy but potentially lead to federal charges if made public. But before Sharon could respond, Chance received a message from an unknown contact warning him to stop digging or suffer consequences that would strike close to home. Meanwhile, at the ranch, Victor brooded beside the fireplace, framed by the glow of Christmas tree lights that shimmered like false promises. In his hand he clutched a confidential folder containing a forged psychiatric evaluation claiming Nikki was not mentally fit to manage Newman Enterprises, evidence he planned to present to the board during the holiday vote to reclaim control through manipulation rather than force. Unbeknownst to Victor, however, Adam overheard fragments of his plan and faced an agonizing moral dilemma: expose his father's scheme and protect Nikki, or join Victor in reclaiming power by exploiting her vulnerability. Adam's heart raced as he realized his decision could either destroy or reunite the Newman family. In the Abbott mansion, Diane discovered a sealed envelope left anonymously at the door, containing a USB drive labeled simply Proof, along with a note claiming the drive contained documents linking Kyle to the sabotage of Jabot contracts earlier in the year. Diane froze, torn between protecting her son and fearing the USB might reveal a truth she could no longer ignore. The holidays intensified emotions as decorations were hung and carols played throughout town, masking the simmering battles beneath the surface. On December 23rd, the Newman board convened a private meeting at the headquarters' top floor, unaware that Claire, now working quietly with Chance, had planted surveillance devices to record whatever might unfold. The boardroom was silent, tension thicker than winter frost, as Nikki prepared to accept appointment as full CEO, her hands shaking under the table, her heart yearning for closure and control despite fearing Victor's retaliation. Suddenly, Victor burst into the room, accompanied by two mysterious associates and armed with documents he claimed proved Nikki lacked mental stability, and posed a threat to the company's future. Gasps echoed, hearts pounded, and Nikki's face drained of color as she realized Victor was weaponizing her past battles with alcohol and trauma to sabotage her victory. But before Victor could present the evidence, Adam stood, voice trembling yet firm, revealing Victor's plan to forge psychological records and manipulate the board. A betrayal that sparked outrage among board members and shattered Victor's remaining reputation. Meanwhile, Summer, watching the drama unfold through a hacked live feed on her phone after receiving a tip, locked eyes with Claire across the cafe. They realized simultaneously that Victor must have a deeper asset still hidden, proof powerful enough to silence them if revealed. The confrontation escalated when Victor accused Adam of betrayal and vowed to disown him publicly, but Adam countered by threatening to release part of the secret archive tying Victor to decades of corruption. Shocked board members began pushing toward emergency security protocols, and within minutes, the meeting dissolved into chaos as the board voted to suspend Victor's authority indefinitely and proceed with elevating Nikki as CEO. Outside the building, flashing news banners announced the historic transition as crowds gathered, reporters clamoring for statements and speculation swirling about the future of Newman Enterprises. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, families across Genoa City gathered for holiday dinners, but beneath the carols and snowflakes, fear lingered, the terrifying realization that Victor had nothing left to lose. That night, Nikki received a cryptic voicemail in a distorted voice warning her not to accept the CEO role at the public ceremony scheduled for Christmas Day, claiming her life would be at risk if she proceeded. Terrified but resolute, Nikki confided only in Victoria, who vowed to protect her mother at all costs, even if it meant confronting Victor publicly on Christmas. Meanwhile, in a deserted parking garage, Chance was assaulted by masked attackers demanding access codes to his confidential investigation files. He narrowly escaped with injuries and realized the conspiracy extended far beyond Victor. It reached into law enforcement and political networks tied to Newman Enterprises decades earlier. As dawn broke on December 25th, snow fell softly, blanketing the chaos temporarily. Newman Tower prepared for the public CEO announcement, crowds gathering with anticipation, and live news cameras broadcasting holiday greetings mixed with headlines hinting at scandal. Inside the lobby, Nikki stood poised to speak when suddenly the power cut out, screens blackened, alarms triggered, and for a moment panic seized the crowd. When emergency lights flickered on, Summer saw Victor emerge from the shadows, flanked by unknown security forces, approaching the podium with chilling calm, as if the chaos had been orchestrated for his final move. But before Victor reached the stage, Claire intercepted him, whispering something that made his expression shift from fury to dread. Summer and Nikki watched, confused, as Victor's hands trembled, not with anger but fear, suggesting Claire's revelation threatened even his unshakable confidence. Claire then stepped toward Nikki, whispering that the USB files were merely breadcrumbs leading to a far more explosive archive buried deep within Newman's encrypted networks. An archive that implicated not only Victor but multiple powerful figures tied to Newman's dominance for decades. The screen behind them flickered back to life, displaying a chilling message. "This is only the beginning." Gasps rippled through the crowd as the message vanished. Nikki stepped to the podium, voice steady but filled with determination, declaring that she would accept the CEO role and lead Newman Enterprises into transparency, even if it meant exposing painful truths long buried under power and loyalty. The crowd erupted, some in applause, others in fear, as Victor stared at Nikki, haunted by a realization that the power he had built for decades was slipping forever from his grasp. And as Christmas bells rang throughout the city, signaling peace and renewal, Genoa City stood on the brink of its darkest chapter, where truth, betrayal, and redemption would collide in ways no one, not even Victor Newman, could control, leaving fans breathless as they faced the terrifying question: who or what would fall next? Silence blanketed the lobby as Nikki's declaration echoed through the towering glass atrium, each word cutting through the tension like shards of ice. While Victor stared at her with a mixture of disbelief and humiliation, the woman he once controlled now commanding a room full of shareholders, reporters, and employees hungry for answers about the chaos unraveling before their eyes. But victory was far from secure because beneath Nikki's poised exterior a storm swirled. Fear that Victor's empire, wounded and cornered, would retaliate with a force strong enough to fracture more than just the company. Meanwhile, Claire moved quietly to the back of the room, eyes scanning for potential threats, knowing Victor's planted agents might attempt sabotage at any moment, yet unaware that one such operative watched her from an upper balcony, gripping a device capable of triggering a silent but devastating digital breach designed to erase files tied to Victor's shadow network before Claire could expose them. Summer, still trembling from the USB betrayal that triggered this seismic shift in power, felt her throat tighten as she sensed unseen danger closing in, and panic fluttered in her chest when she noticed Victor subtly signaling one of his men, because Victor never accepted defeat without orchestrating his next move. Just as Nikki prepared to begin her acceptance speech, a piercing alarm cut through the air indicating unauthorized access detected in the building's internal server room. Gasps rose as emergency protocols initiated, security teams scrambled, and computers across the tower flashed warnings of incoming systemic failure. Chaos rippled outward like shockwaves from an earthquake, fueling suspicion that Victor's operatives were executing a coordinated cyber attack designed to dissolve the company's records, erase evidence tied to the divorce, and destabilize Nikki's authority before she could cement her leadership. Meanwhile, Chance, wounded yet determined, rushed onto the scene, his face bruised from the parking garage ambush hours earlier. Breathless, he whispered urgently to Nikki and Summer that he intercepted intel confirming Victor or someone allied with him had launched the breach and planned simultaneous physical sabotage targeting strategic server hubs located in the tower's subbasement. Desperate for answers, Nikki demanded whether Victor orchestrated this attack, and when Chance hesitated, Victor stepped forward with chilling calm, denying involvement but refusing to condemn it. His smirk suggesting plausible deniability masked a satisfaction that chaos was unfolding exactly as he'd anticipated. Claire suddenly sprinted toward the elevator, explaining breathlessly that the cyber sabotage could be reversed if she reached the core servers in time to isolate corrupted channels before they infected backup systems. Yet she couldn't do it alone. Summer, determined to finish what she started when she exposed Victor's archive, followed Claire despite Nikki's protests, their footsteps echoing through steel hallways as tension pulsed like static in the air. Back upstairs, Nikki fought to maintain control, rallying board members and calming terrified employees, her leadership instincts sharpening as crisis replaced ceremony. Yet beneath her resolve, she felt the crushing weight of responsibility. If Newman Enterprises collapsed tonight, thousands could lose livelihoods, families could suffer, financial markets could shift, and Victor's legacy could be reduced to ash. Meanwhile, Sharon, watching from a televised feed at Crimson Lights, sensed the cascading chain of events was spiraling beyond corporate conflict into something far more dangerous. She called Ray's former colleagues in the FBI, insisting they intervene before Victor's retaliation escalated into federal-level crime, though she feared she was already too late. In the dimly lit basement corridors beneath Newman Tower, Summer and Claire reached the server room, breath visible in the freezing industrial air. Through the glass security partition they saw the digital matrix collapsing, code streaming across screens as encrypted firewalls buckled under attack. Claire typed furiously, hands trembling, sweat beading on her forehead as she attempted to override the breach, while Summer scanned the room, noticing a maintenance worker acting strangely near the cooling unit. Moments later he pulled out a detonator-sized device attached to the power regulator. Summer lunged, tackling him just as the device activated. Alarms blared as sparks erupted from exposed wires, casting an eerie glow. Summer narrowly disabled the trigger as Claire stabilized the firewall, saving the network at the last possible moment. Yet the attacker escaped, disappearing into the maze of tunnels beneath the tower, suggesting Victor or a far bigger enemy had deeper infiltration than anyone suspected. Back upstairs, Nikki addressed trembling shareholders, transparently acknowledging the crisis and vowing to restore security, transparency, and integrity to the company. She then did something no Newman leader had ever attempted. She invited independent auditors and law enforcement to investigate Victor's historical dealings, daring to expose whatever darkness had been buried beneath decades of corporate dominance. The boardroom erupted in protest from loyalists aligned with Victor, but Nikki silenced them, declaring that Newman Enterprises would no longer be a weapon of control but a symbol of accountability. Her words struck Victor like knives, humiliation and rage carving deeper into him, as whispers spread that this could mark the permanent end of his reign. Yet Victor, far from defeated, retreated into the shadows with a chilling smile, murmuring to a trusted confidant that Nikki had unintentionally ignited a war she could never win, because exposing the secrets buried beneath Newman Enterprises would unleash forces even she wasn't prepared to confront. forces that would threaten not only the company but the entire Newman family. Meanwhile, Chance received a message from an anonymous whistleblower claiming to possess the missing pieces of the archive capable of dismantling Victor's power once and for all. Files linking Victor to covert political influence, criminal partnerships, and illegal surveillance campaigns spanning decades. But the message warned that releasing the truth would come at a catastrophic price. Powerful figures outside Genoa City would strike, retaliating against anyone connected to the leak. As snow fell softly outside, masking the turmoil inside the glittering tower, fans recognized that the Christmas season would not bring peace but usher in the darkest chapter in Newman history. Nikki, Summer, Claire, and Chance stood united at the precipice of a battle that would test loyalties, unravel legacies, and force choices no one ever imagined making. And somewhere deep within the shadows of the city, unseen enemies prepared to move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike as the war over truth, legacy, and power escalated toward consequences more devastating than Genoa City had ever seen.